Summer of 1987, 6 months to go before the Calgary Olympics. Jamaica into the Winter Olympics. What sport? So I knew enough about winter sports to know that you cannot put together an ice hockey team in 6 months. And that was my goal. My goal was, if we're going to do this, we're not going to embarrass ourselves. We're going to be competitive. We're going to beat some teams, and therefore make Olympic history. So going down the list of sports in the Winter Olympics, picking a sport where you think, because of Jamaica's athletic skills, you could actually get a team trained to the point where in 6 months' time, they could beat a few teams. So on the plane back from Kingston to Washington, okay, let me see, biathlon, no. Cross-country skiing, no. Figure skating, no. Bobsled. I knew a bit about bobsledding. I'd been in a bobsled a few times, and I knew that 50% of the race is how quickly can you push this 600-pound object before you got to jump in. You all been watching the bobsled in the Olympics? You see on the start, it's the speed and the power, and they only have about 50 yards before they got to jump in. And that's half the race. You'll hear the commentators say, well, what a good start time, and that start time is going to translate to such a finish time. Oh, it's a lousy start time, he's not going to make it. So the start time is very important. So I knew Jamaica had good athletes with speed and power, so we could have a good start time. And the key then was to tell the driver, whatever you do, follow. Do not drive. Just let the sled steer itself, and we'll be okay. Because I went down the list of who's showing up for the Olympics. Well, we got Prince Albert and Monaco. Well, we can beat him. We got a team from New Zealand. We got a team from Australia. And I looked at their times, and I realized, if I can get these guys trained, if I can get the driver not to drive, and we get a good start time, we can beat 5, 6 teams, and in so doing, make Olympic history. So then it was a matter of going out and trying to recruit the athletes, thinking that, well, this is easy. If I'm an athlete training for the Summer Olympics, some guy comes up to me and says, listen, would you like to have a chance to be one of only 10 athletes in the history of the entire Olympics to go to both the Summer and the Winter Olympic Games? So I approached the athletes that were training for the Summer Games in Seoul, Korea. I said, no. Once they knew, after you explained bobsled, that they knew that perhaps you're going to kill yourself, no. So I could not find athletes. Time was running out. It's September. Opening ceremonies is the first week of February. There is no team. So I go to a guy that runs the local military. They call the Jamaican Defense Forces. A guy called Kenny Barnes. And I knew Kenny was a sportsman. I played tennis with him when I was in Jamaica. I said, Kenny, I've got a problem here. Nobody believes me and nobody's signing up, okay? I said, okay, listen. I think this is a good idea, George. I think if you do this, if you can pull this thing off, it'd be great for Jamaica. Because right now we're getting a lot of negative publicity in the United States with our Jamaican drug posses. This would be a breath of fresh air. So what do you need? How can I help? I was the only person in Jamaica who offered to help. He said, well, I need athletes with speed and power. Okay, fine, that's okay. Speed, like 100-meter, 200-meter sprint guy, yes. So he tells his adjutants, he's like a lieutenant, who is our current military sprint champion? Michael White, sir. Get him in this room. Who's our current 800-meter? Devin Harrison. Get him in here. So you also need some bulk, don't you? To push that thing in the, yeah, like a heavyweight boxing guy, like a big 240-pounder? I said, yes, sir. Who's our current military heavyweight? John McFarland. Get him in here. I said, now, how about driving this thing? What do you need? I said, we need hand-eye coordination, so we need good reflexes. Kind of like a helicopter pilot, kind of like a helicopter. Who's our helicopter pilot? Get him in here. That was the Jamaican Bobsled team. Very different from the team that you saw in Cool Runnings. So the Jamaican Bobsled team were military guys, except for one guy. You saw him in the Miller Lite beer commercial. His name was Freddie Powell. And I was so taken with Freddie because he heard about the Jamaican Bobsled tryouts, listening to the radio in a small little village on the opposite side of the island called St. Elizabeth. And he was sort of down on his luck. And he always fancied himself as a good reggae singer. And he had a little band. So he comes to the tryouts. He comes in his black shoes. I said, Freddie, this is athletic track. Wear your sneaker. I don't have any, sir. I said, okay, take your shoes off. Let's see what you do in 100. And he just had natural speed. After I selected him, I realized he's here for a musical career. So he started writing the Jamaican Bobsled theme songs, like Ragamuffin and Hobbin' and a Bobbin', which became #2 during the Calgary Olympics. And a music video was made out of it. But the guys that were in the Sled, they're all military. So, we finally get the team. Now I gotta get him trained. So I take him to Lake Placid, New York, and I take him to Austria where the bobsled tracks are. And, sure enough, we're beating one or two teams. I said, listen, this is looking good. Now let me go get some money. So I can buy some sleds, take him to some more races, which of course is travel expenses. So I went to the Jamaican government and said, no, we don't think you're going to pull this off. Went to the Jamaican companies. This is too crazy. You're not going to pull this off. Went to international companies like Coca-Cola, other companies that sponsor teams. No. So I realized nobody's going to give me money, so I got to dip into my wallet. And I dipped in to the tune of about $80,000. I said, uh-oh, this better work. So we could travel some more, and so we could buy a sled. 2 weeks to go. We're in Jamaica. We're all excited. We're going to the Olympics. We got a good chance because we see that we can beat a couple teams. We're going to make Olympic history. So I get a phone call from the guy that runs the Jamaica Olympic Association, Mike. I said, Mike, I got some bad news for you. So what's that? I said, I just got a call from the International Olympic Committee saying you can't go. I said, what? I said, Mike, you know we can go. I mean, I've read the rules inside and out. The rules are, if your local National Olympic Committee approves you, you can go. I said, and you approved us. And, don't worry, Mike. We're not going to embarrass you. We're going to be able to beat a few teams and make Olympic history. So Mike said, I'm sorry. I don't want to jeopardize my standing with the International Olympic Committee. I got my team going to the Seoul Summer Olympics. I really, really am sorry. So where I thought that, do I pause here? We got some more people, isn't it?
The classroom.
This is the class that's coming here, so I do pause.
They're just listening.
Oh, you're not taking notes.
No. Oh, we're just
But we should show them a video, maybe.
We'll do it after.
After.
I'm interested. I just want you to keep talking.
Just keep on running your mouth, okay?
I can tell you told this story a lot. You know what to say.
It's best told.
Yeah, definitely.
Sorry we're late.
Hey.
Better late than never, right?
Running off at the mouth here. Okay, for those who just came, we're at the point in the story where the team is down in Jamaica, getting ready to go with about 10 days before the opening ceremonies in Calgary, only to be told by the International Olympic Committee that you cannot go. And why can't? Because we're afraid you're going to embarrass the Olympic movement. There's no way a bunch of guys from the tropical islands are going to be able to compete. We are not going to turn the Olympics into a circus. So of course, this news is devastating. We spent the last 4 or 5 months training hard, raising some money. We know we're competitive. We just got back from a race in Austria where we beat 5 teams. So this was devastating news. Fortunately, Prince Albert of Monaco, who was a bobsledder, and he was going to the Olympics, and he liked the team. More importantly, his two sisters loved the Jamaican Bobsled t-shirt. And they bought 200. So I called Prince Albert of Monaco. I said, listen. And he was a vice president on the committee, so he had some influence. I said, we were just told we're not going. He said, that's not right. I said, can you fix it? I can fix it. So 2 days later, he fixed it. I got a call back saying, go ahead, start packing your bags. You're on your way. So we get to the Olympics. We get to the opening ceremonies. By that time, people had heard about the Jamaican Bobsled team. We were a big favorite. We go into the opening ceremonies, and it was just next to Canada, the home team. I was told, when they have the applause meters, we had the second largest applause. So here we are. The Olympics, we're training. Okay, time for the race, moment of truth. Are you going to be an embarrassment, or are you going to make Olympic history and actually be competitive and beat two teams? So it's 4 heats. I don't know if anybody's watching bobsled on the Olympics or not, but it's 2 heats on each day. So after the first day, 2 heats, whoa, not bad. We're ahead of 3 teams. Again, I come back to the point I made earlier, because of the start time and because the driver listened, and he didn't drive. He let the sled steer itself. Okay, good. Day 2, 2 more heats. After the end of 4 heats, we were ahead of 10 teams. So that's it. Mission accomplished. We made Olympic history. No other team had gone to the Olympics prepared in such a short period of time from such a strange place, not familiar with the sport. So I'm sitting in the Olympic Village in my room. I said, guys, tremendous, okay? You got 10 days left. You know, go enjoy yourself. Go soak up the adulation. Here's some more pins. Go trade some pins. Here's some more shirts. Go trade some shirts. You want tickets to any events? Let me know. Get you some tickets. So the team captain, who's a driver, his name is Dudley Stokes, gives me this very serious look. I said, well, not really. We want to do the 4-man event. I said, whoa. Whoa. Right away. We got 3 problems, okay? We have never been in the 4, and the Olympics is not where you practice. We don't have a 4-man sled, and that costs $28,000, and I am out of money. I am bankrupt. And 3, I don't see 4 guys sitting in this room here. You want to tell me how we're going to solve those problems? I said, no, you're going to solve them. You've taken us this far. We want to do it, and I'm sure you can figure a way out. Well, because of that kind of attitude and spirit, even though it's against my better judgment, because then I run the risk of, we've never been in a 4, maybe we're not going to be competitive. But because they really wanted to do it and showed that kind of spirit, I said, I'm going to try to pull this off. So I go down to the favorite restaurant in Calgary. I said, I'll bring the Jamaican Bobsled team in. I want half the proceeds, half the gate. I want to be able to sell Jamaican Bobsled t-shirts and souvenirs. At the end of the night, we made $30,000. I went to the Canadians, here's $28,000 for your sled. I want that 4-man sled. Okay, now for the 4th guy. The driver, Dudley, said, I got a brother. His name is Chris. Chris wrote a book called Cool Runnings. I doubt it's in your library, but maybe it's in Borders or someplace. Chris is a great athlete. In fact, he's training for the Summer Olympics in the 200. But Chris, Dudley, we can't just have him show up. This is not like some seminar or conference where if you register late and pay some more money, they'll let you in. They got to check you out. They got to run all kinds of tests on you, security clearances. That's going to take weeks. Figure it out. So I got a hold of the accrediting official, and he said, okay, 2 weeks, all expenses paid in Jamaica, my wife included. Yeah, okay, well, he's in. So for a 2-week vacation in Jamaica, he let Chris come in. Okay, so now we got 2 days to try the 4-man sled. Now, it's not like the 2-man, it's at least 10 miles an hour faster. So I'm holding my breath, because the last thing I want, my biggest fear from day one was these guys are going to crash, they're going to have a bad crash, and they're really going to injure themselves, and I'm going to have to explain this to their family. That was always my biggest fear that kept me up at night. So the training, we had maybe 4 or 5 training runs, so far so good. Okay, race day. Again, come back. The race is 2 days. First day, 2 heats. Second day, next 2 heats. First day, Saturday, 2 heats. Whoa, not bad. We're ahead of 3 teams because of our start time, because of that Jamaican athletic prowess of speed and power. Whoa, this is not bad. Shouldn't be doing this, but this just might work. Next day, 3rd heat. By that time, it must have been everybody in Calgary. The word was, the Jamaicans are trying the 4, you get up to the hill and watch them. I mean, they never had so many people watching a bobsled event. I think it was like 50,000 people just watching a bobsled event. I think prior to that, it was 15,000. So everybody's up there rooting for the Jamaicans. And not my worst fear, but what I was afraid might happen was the driver would start to drive. You would start to feel it. And that is why we crashed. Because we had a great start time. If you'd ended up at the bottom of the hill, it would probably put us maybe in 24th position out of 32 teams. But Dudley, I don't know how, if you saw the movie basically just took the crash scene, and we got the crash scene is here. And so in the big curve that sweeps around, if you've been watching the bobsledding event on the Vancouver Olympics, they call it the 50-50. Only 50% of the people make it out of the curve, and the rest crash. Well, every bobsled track has this sweeping, what they call chrysal curve. And you got to be very careful how you come into it. You want to go high and just keep a line. Well, Dudley comes in there, and it was just, as he told me afterward, he just said the noise from the clamor and the crowd. When I came in, entered the chrysal, I went too low and had to pull myself back up again. And then I realized I went too high, so then I was doing this. And that's when he came out and just crashed. And of course, that's that worst fear just happened. Because when you see that, at the bobsled track, they have it on video screens. And I was at my favorite spot, which is the bottom, to congratulate the guys when they came across the finish line. And I see this on the monitor, his head banging against the ice wall. And you're coming out of the chrysal, you're probably at that time doing 75 miles an hour. And to see Dudley's head, the driver's head, come out of the sled and bang against the ice walls, and this guy snapped his neck. He broke his neck. So you're not supposed to do this, but I just went into the bobsled track, ran down the bobsled track, middle of the bobsled track, because the sled would eventually have to come to a stop. So ran down the bobsled track. Paramedics came in as well. The bobsled track. Sled finally comes to a stop. No movement. So I sort of, peer in to see if I could see any movement by any of the 4 guys. And then I see Devin first, and Devin was number 2 in the sled, doing this. I see John in the back doing that. I'm looking at Dudley because he's the driver, and I figured he might have snapped his neck, so I'm not going to. Fortunately, I see this from Dudley. So they all come out of their sled. Just make sure they're okay, they're standing straight. And then, and to me, I mean, this actually, brought tears to my eyes too. And I think it forever endeared them, is they come out of that sled and they start smiling. And they raise it, yeah, man, we're okay. Jamaica. We're okay. Take the sled and carry it across the finish line. That's the Jamaican Bobsled story. Now, you all wanted to see, right? Unfortunately, they didn't qualify for Vancouver. But we're going to get together for our 24th anniversary, which will be in about 3 years. And the guys have done very well. I mean, Devin is on the speaking circuit. Here you go. If you're a good athlete, you should be able to do any sport. And with Jamaica, of course, they got great athletes. And even in this Olympics of bobsled and the women's bobsled, you have a woman that was a soccer player. And now she's a bobsledder. So you should be able to transfer to a different sport. And that's what I wanted to prove. And we did prove that. Now with the pushcart derby, that was also an inspiration as well. Because every year in August in Jamaica, they have the annual pushcart, which goes down to Blue Mountains. And is very similar to a bobsled track with curves like that. And it's reckless. And in the movie, of course, they used that. But it was somewhat of an inspiration. But the real inspiration was to pick a sport where in a short period of time, you could get good athletes, trained, and then be competitive by beating teams and making Olympic history. So I did not want to do what had been done before, where you have a Filipino who's in the luge, and he comes in last, or you have a downhill skier from Ethiopia that's doing the snow plow, and they turn the lights out because she hasn't come down yet. Was to go there and be competitive. That was the goal, and we accomplished that. We beat 10 teams in the 2-man events. Unfortunately, we crashed in the 4-man event, but if we hadn't crashed in the 4-man event, I wouldn't be here, because this is all about Cool Runnings, and Disney would not have called me saying we'd like to make a movie. Okay, questions?
You pretty much answered all of them.
Oh, good.
So I guess after all this, like, what made you decide you want to be mayor? Like, what made you go into politics?
Well, somebody said if you could do that,
You could do anything.
it was another challenge. I went to a public hearing and complaining, as most people do when they go to a public hearing. They're either complaining about growth or development issue, or they're complaining about the budget and their taxes. And I was basically told to sit down. If I didn't like it, I could go run for mayor. So I ran for mayor.
How long have you been there?
12 years.
What is your
And while
thought?
you're mayor, you can do things that you really can't do as a private citizen. And what I'm doing right now that I'm excited about is my green initiative, where our community is going to be the first community in the United States where we're going to be able to power our own homes and our own vehicles with our own garbage. We're going to take the waste of the landfill that's being buried in a hole, and with the new technology and with a private partner to finance it, is instead take that garbage and make electricity.
What inspired that idea?
Inspired that idea? Like most of my ideas, my wife.
Yeah.
How long have you two been married?
32.
I said earlier, behind every great man
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
an even greater woman.
There you go. My wife reminds me about that all
Well,
the
I've
time.
been told that the man works the head, but it's a woman that puts the direction in.
Go this
Yeah.
way, go
Yeah,
that
yeah.
way.
What are your most proudest moments or memories or whatever that might be?
Of this?
Any of it, because that's an interesting life to share
Oh.
that. Anything.
Jamaica Bobsled would be up there in the top 5. it was an experience where, on the one hand, you will always sort of look back and it will bring a smile to your face, but also an experience where it'll also bring a scowl to your face because of all the things that you didn't do, because you're so consumed in pulling this off. I did not enjoy the Olympics. I could have enjoyed the Olympics. But I was just too taken with having to do all these things without any help, and so obsessed with making sure they were competitive that you didn't really have time to enjoy it. I'm very proud of the Green Initiative. I'm very proud that my wife hasn't dumped me after 32 years, and that I go out and I pursue these things. She still lets me back in the house.